Look, if you're a U.S. citizen, you have nothing to fear.
You'll be happy to know, as I say sarcastically, that the mush-mouth dildo with ears, Tom Homan, the border czar, is back on the scene. You might have wondered to yourself, where's the mush-mouth dildo with ears been? Why haven't I seen that guy? Well, it was because there was a bunch of bribery charges that were floating out there that the media was talking about. And then once the scene cooled a little bit and people weren't asking so many questions about the massive bag of cash in a kava bag that he accepted that's on tape, on FBI surveillance video in a sting operation, once it went away, he's back on the scene. They removed him from the conversation, but now he's back. And he went on State of the Union yesterday, typically hosted by Jake Tapper, traitor to the Republic. But he was on with Dana Bash, being asked a whole bunch of good questions, none of which were offered with good answers. And he tried to take the role of Donald Trump racism explainer, kind of like an interpreter for Donald Trump's racism. Oh, no, it wasn't racism. What he meant to say was... What he actually was trying to say was, even though Donald Trump has been on the earth for nearly 80 years, should be an expert in his mother tongue, should be able to communicate accurately, precisely, with an expert eye on communicating his ideas, right? Doing a better job than me, you would hope. And here is Tom Homan explaining that, no. We're not going in to Minneapolis to harass the Somali community because Donald Trump called him garbage. What Donald Trump meant to say was, watch this.
Mr. Homan, the president said very clearly this week that he doesn't want Somali immigrants in America. He called them garbage. Is that the real reason this operation is happening in the Somali community?
No, I think President Trump's referring to public safety threats as national security threat from Somalia and every other country.
Well, he didn't say that. He said
he's been clear from day one.
He talked about the whole community.
Well, look, I'm not aware what the President Trump was thinking when he said that, but I agree with President Trump. From day one, he has said, we are concentrating on public safety threats and national security threats. He was put in the Oval Office to run the biggest deportation operation this country's ever seen. That's exactly what we're doing. That's what American people voted for. So there's numerous countries that President Trump's, is looking at everybody that came from these countries, make sure they're vetted properly. Some of these countries don't have the proper systems in place to totally vet somebody, so we don't know who they really are. So President Trump's taken upon himself in this administration to make sure anybody that came to this country illegally that we find, and those that came into a vetting process that weren't properly vetted because they don't have the database and information to ensure they're properly vetted, that we're going to relook at those cases and make sure they're properly vetted.
You think Donald Trump, when he called the children of Somalis, many of whom are American citizens, when he called them garbage, when he called Ilhan Omar a citizen of the United States of America and duly elected congresswoman for a congressional district in the state, when he called her garbage, you meant national security threats and public safety threats. Is that what you mean? You fucking thumb with a face drawn on it? It got worse, if you can believe it. I'm going to bounce back in time. That was about 9:06 a.m. Eastern time. 4 minutes or so before that, he assured the American people that, look, if you're an American citizen, you have nothing to worry about relative to these roundups, relative to these kidnappings via masked secret police of Donald Trump in the streets of the United States.
With the new ICE raids in Minnesota, they are sparking widespread fear and uncertainty among people in the Somali community in the Twin Cities. Now, that Somali community in Minnesota is about 80,000 people. The vast majority are U.S. citizens or legal residents. So what is the reason for sending ICE there?
Well, look, we also know there's a large illegal Somali community there. There's illegal alien community, large illegal alien community there. Look, if you're a U.S. citizen, you have nothing to fear.
So we went back in time. Now we're going back forward. another 6 minutes, where Dana Bash didn't directly address that particular thing in the moment. She bounced back to it. But like if American citizens have nothing to fear, why have we seen time and time and time and time again, by ProPublica's counts, dozens, if not hundreds of times it is happening across the country, U.S. citizens getting wrapped up in? And this was his excuse to that, after, remember, saying American citizens have nothing to fear.
The Department of Homeland Security posted on social media this week that ICE does not arrest or deport U.S. citizens. Just the other day, I'm going to show you some video. There was an incident of masked ICE agents targeting a 22-year-old mother in New Orleans, chasing her to her home, even though she told them she was a U.S. citizen. And then there was this video, which I am actually going to show you. It was an incident in the state of Florida. Now, she was released once they found her driver's license in her car that said she was, in fact, a U.S. citizen. So if ICE says it doesn't arrest U.S. citizens, why do we keep seeing incidents like the one I just played, so aggressively pursuing people as they say they are lawfully in America?
Well, a couple of things. First of all, I started as Border Patrol in 1984. Through my nearly 4 decades of work, I can't tell you how many times an illegal alien claimed to be a U.S. citizen. It happens all the time. But it's getting back to what I just said. Reasonable suspicion. If they have reasonable suspicion, stop and question somebody and shortly hold them and detain them briefly for questioning. If they have reasonable suspicion, they can stop. So do I think there's been 0 U.S. citizens that have been detained for questioning because the reasonable suspicion said they may be in the country illegally and may have an issue with that? But as soon as that questioning is over, if they're U.S. citizens, they'd be released. It takes probable cause to arrest somebody.
Oh, so we do have something to fear. And the reason we have something to fear is because the dildo with ears, with the mush mouth, says, well, the illegals are always saying they're citizens, so that's why we have to violate the rights of the citizens. We get it, Tom Homan. It's fascism, is what it is. If you get in the way and you resemble the enemy of the administration, if you talk like the enemy of the administration, even if you're a Republican, and you happen to have an accent or too dark a hue, and if there's too much melanin, you gotta go, says the mushmouth dildo with ears. Yeah, I keep repeating it because I want it to catch on. Very transparent. Anyway, I invite you to this conversation. We can have it in the comments below the video. You should be afraid. Not afraid, like petrified, you can't function with fear, but you need to be nervous. And I hope that nervous will animate you to action. I hope that nervousness will motivate you to organize, to go out and protest, to get involved in a campaign. We cannot rest on our laurels, as it were, and just make social media posts. Look, I know a lot of people who are in this space who just stay in their studio, just talk about the news, don't go out to protests, don't get in the face of federal officials, don't make noise. I'm not one of them. The reason I moved to Washington, D.C. was because of what's taking place now. So I can go out into the streets. Just about every single week, I'm out at something. You can do the same thing. I would encourage you to do so, and I would shame you if you don't. That's not far off the truth. But I do love and appreciate you, and I want to hear from you. You can comment below this video. You can also call the voicemail line, 714-576-4054. And of course, as always, you can email me daily at dollemore.com. Now that I'm saying the number, maybe I already said it. You know, when you record a whole bunch of videos all in a row, this is what happens. You forget. Also, not feeling good. So anyway, I love and appreciate you very much. I will see you next time. Be genuine. Take care of one another.